Peter Gore. I'm going to talk to you about how do you age better. And specifically in this video, we're going to talk about the role of movement, activity, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to explain different aspects of that and what impact they have. But first of all, just a little reminder about the framework that we're using to measure what we mean by better, living better, aging better. So this is what we call the life curve. There are 15 things plus some pre-markers listed down the left-hand side. They start with you can't reach to cut your toenails, and at the bottom of the left-hand side, you can't feed yourself. So when you're at the bottom of this curve, you need to receive full-time care from friends, family, professional caregivers, a combination, or you will need to be in an institution where they can provide you with care, because you can't live independently when you can't do any of these things. So let's just remind ourselves about what age this happens. So 2% of men, 3% of women can't do this in England at the age of 42, but a small number of women, specifically in California, we were able to find they're able to do all of these things still at the age of 100. So this 60-year age range. Now the median technically age at which you start to get this problem is 79, but people get it across a 60-year period. But they don't necessarily have to. And that's really what we're trying to talk about in these series of videos. How do I age better? How can I change the shape? So let's pick Bert and split him into upper Bert and lower Bert. And you can see how, if you remember, he's had these two potentially different journeys. So upper Bert has stayed at full wash and been able to maintain that for potentially several years. And lower Bert has continued to decline. The difference between them is lower Bert is in full-time care. There won't be much of a difference. Upper Bert might have slightly longer life expectancy, but essentially it's not really changing his life expectancy, his or hers, because this happens for both genders, of course. But really what we're getting is more better years. So that's what this is about, that's what these videos are about, and we're going to talk about the role of movement. But just before I get onto there, let's put movement in context. So movement, we're really talking about staying off the life curve by building reserves, so building up more capacity than I need to do these 15 things, which means that I can't lose them if I've got more capacity than I need to do them. And secondly, if I have lost them, I can get them back. And you can do that for a very long period in most cases, or at any stage. There is a role for equipment we'll talk about in another video, and a role for care that we'll talk about in another video still. And every time you come across a difficulty, there's a choice to make here. Do I push back against losing that difficulty? Do I try to get it back? Do I compensate? Do I get somebody else to do it for me? So if you want to know more about background to healthy aging, please watch the introductory channel video, then ask questions in the comments section. But in this video, we're going to talk very specifically about movement in the context of healthy aging. And movement, as we've discussed, has two specific roles in our framework. So here are the two that we're going to focus on. The others, like I said, we'll do in future videos. So is this what I mean by movement, going down a gym and doing these things that some people think are horrific? Well, if you want to go down a gym and that's the kind of thing that motivates you, that's a great thing to do. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely should do that. And you can do that at any age. Lots of people, as they get older, take it up actually to maintain their ability. That's fine. But that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about heavy weightlifting. A, there's something wrong with his equipment. B, there's something wrong with his technique. But this is not what we're talking about. So don't switch off yet, because if that's not your thing, that's not what I'm about to talk about. We do need to talk about moving more. So sitting in front of TV for 8 hours a day Actually, we'll cover that perhaps in another video. There is something that you can do to mitigate against that, but it's not a recommended behaviour anyway. It's just really bad to sit inactive for very long periods. But it isn't just walking. It is also maintaining upper body strength, and whether that's choosing to carry shopping when you don't have to, or carrying it to a car just to get a little bit of exercise in to build into a routine. There are lots of different things, different ways of doing it. But we do need to essentially create some kind of challenge to our system. And we describe that really as low, moderate, and vigorous intensity. And here are the definitions from the CDC. So probably the easiest one to remember, there's some examples here, but the easiest thing to remember is that if you can talk but you can't sing, you're probably doing moderate exercise. If you've got a fancy watch that can measure these kinds of things, they'll tell you whether you're doing that and how much you're doing that. But if you can sing, you're not doing moderate exercise. If you go on to vigorous intensity, you won't really be able to have a very extended conversation if you're doing vigorous activity. So they're just simple ways of measuring. You should be doing 150 minutes a week if you want to maintain your health and fitness as well as possible, of 150 minutes of moderate intensity or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity, because every vigorous minute counts for 2 moderate. So, and you can do a combination of these, of course, whatever works for you. And lots of different examples. On the right, you can see aerobic dancing, which certainly wouldn't be my thing. Water aerobics on the left, that also wouldn't be my thing. But there are lots of different things, even if that's gardening, whether that's heavy duty gardening or light gardening, all sorts of different things, and not just this list. Though different things do have different impacts on you, and we'll cover that in future videos as well. Not all things are equal in terms of their impact on you. Just to give you an example here, they're singing while they're walking along. So I'm afraid they're doing easy exercise rather than moderate intensity exercise. There's nothing wrong with that, but just so as we're clear, that doesn't count towards your 150 minutes a week. I just want to cover one other kind of exercise in inverted commas, which is climbing stairs or a hill. Why do I pick up on this? Because people think, well, maybe I should move into a bungalow, or it's a really bad thing to climb stairs as you get older. Well, obviously you need to be able to climb stairs safely if that's what you're going to do, but it's not a bad thing for you, or climbing hills. And here's why. So long as you do it safely, here's why it's not a bad thing. Actually, even better, it's a very good thing for you. So when we look at our brains, there was a group of scientists who measured, they did scans and they measured people's brains from the age of 20 through to 70s and looked at the size of their brains. And they drew a distinction between their physiological brain age and their chronological brain age. And they looked to find different things that people did across that sort of 50-year period that made a difference to their physiological brain age versus their chronological brain age. And they found 2 things. And A is the first thing they found, and B is the second thing. Now, you're probably not into looking at brain scans, not really my thing either. But what you see is these colours show different parts of the brain having different effects, different level up to 15% effect, different levels in people's brains on average, for these 2 things. And they found just 2 things that really made a difference to the physiological versus chronological brain age. The first one is not a great surprise, and that's that the more years you spend in education, the younger your brain is as you get older. So for every 1 year you spent in education, your brain will be 0.95 of a year younger. That's the thing that we've probably known for a long time, and the more obvious thing. The second thing was a surprise, and that's for every extra, at least to me, for every extra flight of stairs you climb daily, or the equivalent with hill walking or whatever, your brain was 0.58 of a year physiologically younger than it would be had you not done that. And the thing is, years in education is hard work, expensive, takes a long time. Climbing stairs every day or the equivalent is relatively quick, has a significant impact, and costs essentially nothing to do. And it counts as part of your exercise if you get your heart rate up as well. So it's just a really simple thing that you can build in. Instead of catching the lift to the third floor, walk up to the third floor. It probably doesn't take you much longer, but actually it will help you age better. Just such an easy thing to do. And you can see these different points in the brain that are being affected by climbing the stairs down the bottom. Just one final thought on exercise. The easiest type of exercise activity is the stuff that you can build into your everyday routines. So if you try to do big changes of habits, they're hard to make stick. It's not impossible, but it's much harder. So here's one thing that was suggested to me by an 85-year-old physio who said, "What are you doing to make sure you age well, young man?" And her suggestion to me was, provided you can do it safely and you've got something there you obviously don't want to fall. You need to make sure that you won't be hurt if you wobble a bit and all of that kind of stuff. So you need to take proper account of your safety and only do this if it's safe for you to do. But if you stand on one leg while you do half your teeth and on the other leg while you do the other half of teeth, and you brush your teeth for however many minutes a day, you're just getting that little bit of exercise that is just built into your routine. I've been doing it for nearly 3 years now because I told her I would do something that she told me to do. So I have done. I might see her again sometime soon. So I'm determined to do that. And it just helps you maintain your balance. It's just a simple challenge. You're not focused on trying not to fall over, at least you're not once you get used to it. But it's just an easy thing to build into routine while you're doing something that's not intellectually taxing anyway. And it's something that potentially many of us could build into our everyday tasks. So let me know in the comments if there's any questions that this raised or any general questions about movement or exercise. There's lots of exciting emerging evidence. So if you want to know how you can not stop Alzheimer's, stop getting Alzheimer's, but how you can push back against its effects, exercise, very specific exercise, has a role in that. It can also help you reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. I can explain how you might do that and other specific things. So do feel free to ask the questions and we'll try to dig out the evidence. Thank you.